Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's about time that me and you sit down and have a very long, in-depth, and verbose conversation about some video games, which is, my specialty. I like yapping for a while, and don't worry, this isn't the entire collection, because in fact, if I can move the camera to show you some of the mountainous glory that's happening here. This is a third stack, by the way. So here's let me move the microphone. Here's the first stack, here's the second stack, and that's the third stack behind it. So, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be yapping about a lot of video games. Is this going to be a pain to not only keep organized, but to also put back when it's all done? Yes. In fact, I kind of think I want to move the microphone for a minute and just have one of these moments where you guys can't see me for a while behind the stack. Just actually, I won't actually do that. That would be hilarious though, wouldn't it? So without further ado, I'm trying to figure out where the heck am I gonna even put these games. I guess I'll put them over here on this side of the desk and just start my own little mountain over here. So we're not gonna be going in alphabetical order or any particular order really. I guess I'll keep the mic over here as I usually do. Again, just kind of doing all this on the fly here. I've had requests in the before to show off my entire collection, but I'm sorry, there's no way I can show off my entire video game collection all at once. I mean, I can. It would be a multi-hour video, but, maybe I'll make a compilation of all these at some point, because if you think, this is just, one of my collections, and the PS3 is probably one of my smaller collections of games, when it comes to, each relative console, just to give you an idea. So without further ado, let's start with, we'll work from biggest to smallest. First up, oh, this game's actually fucking awesome. Excuse my language. Heavenly Sword. This is a really underrated, exclusive PlayStation 3 game. It is such a gem. It's very God of War / Ninja Gaiden DMC-esque, more towards God of War. Ninja Gaiden and DMC were more skill-based, leaning more towards that Dark Souls side of things where, they're not inherently Dark Souls difficult by any means, but they are a bit more on the challenging side, whereas God of War you could get by a bit easier just by, button mashing, and Heavenly Sword is definitely much more akin to that. Basically, in this game, in typical God of War fashion, you're going to be mashing square a bunch, throwing in a couple triangles when you want to spice it up, you get more abilities as the game goes on, and, yeah, honestly, it's been a number of years since I played this game, so honestly, I couldn't even, tell you that much about it just right off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and replay it, just because I've played thousands of games in my day, so honestly, after a while, your brain holds on to only so much information at once, but I can tell you, without a doubt, that this game is absolutely fantastic. It is a lot of fun, and it is also available on PlayStation 5 via the PS3 streaming part of, PlayStation Plus Premium, so if you have access to that, I'd highly recommend that. Now, I guess I should be careful how much I yap about each individual game, because otherwise we'd be here for a while, so I'm going to try to keep a decent pace. Oh, man! Such a fantastic game right here. Grand Theft Auto 4. Man, talk about a pretty solid way to start this video out. Grand Theft Auto 4, there's not really much I can say about this game that hasn't already been said before. In terms of GTA stories, I'd probably say that GTA 4 is my overall favorite. I feel like I end up revisiting 5 more when it comes to replaying that game, just because, letter A, it's been re-released way more times. GTA 4 never really got an official re-release. It was only released, put out on PC. I think it got, re-released on PC once. They also put out, the complete edition a couple years after the episodes came out, but then that was basically it. But Grand Theft Auto 4, such an amazing game. If you haven't played the story in this game, I highly recommend going back and doing it. And surprisingly, the GTA Online servers on PS3 and 360 have outlasted GTA 5's servers on those consoles, because the GTA 5 PS3 and 360 servers shut down back in 2022, whereas these been on since 2008 and they're still online. So if you want to go back and get that GTA 4 Online, goodness, you can still do that. And if you just haven't played the story before, I'd recommend playing the game on an Xbox 360 or a PS3 natively if you can, because if you play the game on PC, you're probably going to be running it at above 30 FPS, which brings in all sorts of bugs and inconsistencies in the game, and it's just really not an ideal way to play it. The best way to play this game really is at 720p 30 FPS on PS3 or 360, or just cap the game at 30 FPS on PC, because otherwise it's gonna be a pain in the ass to get on ladders. You literally can't beat the game because it's gonna bug out when you get to the final part with the helicopter. Just not worth it. Next up, we got an ooh daddy of a game right here, God of War Saga, which includes God of War 1, 2, 3, as well as the 2 PSP games, Ghost of Sparta and Chains of Olympus. It's kind of funny how they did it though. So basically on disc 1 you have God of War 1 and 2, and then on disc 2 you have God of War 3, and then it came with a code for the other 2 games, which I really don't like, because they already had a physical version, the God of War Origins collection, which included Chains of Olympus. Sorry, there's an eyelash in my eye or something. It included Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta. Yet, for some reason, when it came to the full saga, they gave you a digital code. I don't know. I already redeemed it, so I have it on my account. I really don't like the way they did that, though. I'm probably going to pick up the Origins collection at some point, just so then I can actually have a physical version of, you know, the PSP games, of course. Full Auto 2 Battle Lines, yeah. This is just like a car combat game. Think something similar to, like, Twisted Metal, you know, just drive around, shooting stuff. It's a fun game. Oh, wow, I actually didn't know that until now. This game was actually published by Sega, so that's pretty cool. Sega always publishes a lot of really cool stuff. Ooh, man, speaking of really cool stuff, we got Final Fantasy 13 right here. This is one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. I love the entire saga of Final Fantasy 13. 13-2, Lightning Returns. I love this game. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody said at the time. I've always loved this game, and to this day, you know, I know there's people that have come around to it, but, you know, I still don't care. This is one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. This, along with, like, Final Fantasy 15, is just two of those games where it's like, sure, they aren't as popular as some games like, say, oh, 7 or 10 or even 9 or whatever, but I don't care. Such a fantastic game, and I highly recommend checking it out. You're able to play it nowadays, like, via backwards compatibility on Xbox One or Series X and S. Unfortunately, I don't think there's really a way to play it on PlayStation nowadays, because it never got re-released, and I don't think it's on any of their services. So, if you want to play it on a PlayStation, you either have to go with PS3, or if you want to play it on PC, that's also an option there, and there's also, obviously, always other means like emulation and such. Next up, we have my favorite game of all time, FIFA Soccer 12. This game changed my life, groundbreaking, had me in tears by the end of it. Anyway, next up we got Fallout 3, genuinely one of the best games ever made, dog. I'll never forget playing this game and, like, stepping out into the wasteland for the first time. You just know that Fallout moment. Every Fallout game, for the most part, has that moment. I guess Fallout New Vegas to a lesser extent. I feel like for New Vegas, that moment was literally just that entire opening sequence, just because it was, like, so intense with that opening cinematic and then, like, waking up. Yeah, you know, it's just... I won't spoil it if you haven't played it before, but that whole opening sequence is really cool, and then just stepping out for the first time and seeing the barren wasteland. But anyway, yeah, Fallout 3. I've always loved the color scheme, color tone, color scheme. I don't know, it's like 7 a.m. right now. It's like that greenish, brownish. It's not quite like gray and brown like most games from this generation. It's like kind of green, but I always like that about it. It just kind of sticks out in its own way. Unfortunately, this is from the era where Bethesda games were like a fucking nightmare to play on PS3, though. Fallout 3 was mostly okay. I'm pretty sure New Vegas was broken. Skyrim was most definitely broken. The more you played it, the more it broke, which we'll get to later on in here. It was a whole thing. Next up, we got one of the games where, again, even though there's not like a huge following for it, it's popular enough to have gotten a ton of entries, and I just genuinely love the series, that being Dynasty Warriors, specifically Dynasty Warrior 6. I've always loved the Warriors games. My favorite Warriors game is probably just Hyrule Warriors, like the first one on Wii U, for example. Definitely some nostalgia bias there, but the DLC for it was really cool, and then when it finally got ported to the 3DS, like, that was just insane seeing it run there. Run in quotations. It did have some troubles running on the 3DS, but then when the new 3DS and new 2DS came out, sorry, it ran phenomenally well. But getting back to Dynasty Warriors 6, there's not much that really makes this one stand out compared to, like, the other Dynasty Warriors games, right? Like, you kind of know what you're expecting here, just sort of like the next generation at the time of Dynasty Warriors, bouncing out from, like, the PlayStation 2, just, you know, following on from that. If there's one thing I can say, though, there is a lot of sexual appeal in Dynasty Warriors, dudes. I mean, I'm a straight man, but I gotta say, the dudes in here be looking great, and the girls in Dynasty Warriors, looking fantastic as ever. Next up, we have another game that I love that nobody else does, that being Duke Nukem Forever. Another game that I've always just genuinely loved. I mean, dog, the game literally opens up with you taking a piss in a urinal. Like, that is hilarious. The action is fantastic. The humor is fantastic. I love the open world sections where you can kind of, like, drive around for a bit. It wasn't exactly open world. It was kind of just, like, open level. It kind of pointed you in the right direction, but there was, like, really cool bits where you, like, drive over ramps and stuff. And I don't know. I never understood the hate for this game, dog. Like, Duke Nukem Forever. This game is awesome. I love it. Next up, we have something that every PS3 owner should own. Or, you know, if it's not PS3, then PS2 if you have the original versions of the game. But that being the Devil May Cry HD collection. I can't tell you how many times I've purchased Devil May Cry games. PS2, PS3, Xbox 360, the next generation, like Xbox One and PS4 with like DMC5 and the other HD collections and such. This is like Skyrim, Resident Evil 4, well, I will just buy it every time they put it out, okay? Devil May Cry HD collection comes with 1, 2, and 3, and yeah, here on PS3 as well as over on Xbox 360, you know, this is a great version of the game. If you haven't played the original DMC games before, this is a great way to do it. The HD collections are also available on like Steam and the new consoles as well, but you know, if you're just looking for one specifically for this generation of consoles, great way to do it right here. You know, it expands it from the original 4x3 to 16x9, runs at I mean, the original games already ran at 60 FPS, so, you know, the frame rate was untouched, just higher resolution, stuff like that. Great remaster. Next up, we got a game that I'm surprised, but also not surprised is still online, that being Destiny. I actually just went back to the PS3 version of this game, like, last year and replayed the campaign. Had a lot of fun because I didn't have any of my progress saved there on PS3, because that's actually one thing we need to talk about here. This isn't all of my PS3 games, because back in the day, for example, like I had Dead Space 3 and Hitman Absolution, and you know, those are just like some of the games, you know, off the top of my head. I had a ton of games because my parents were divorced. I had a PlayStation 3 at my dad's, I had an Xbox 360 at my mom's. I had a ton of games at my dad's house, but unfortunately, me and my dad just kind of fell off. We haven't really talked in like 10 years now, so I had to, when I bought my PS3 again, I had to start fresh. I had to start fresh on a new account. I had to buy all the games over again, which I was fine with the account bit, because I technically like share the account with like my dad and my younger brother, so it is what it is. I was cool to have my own account finally. But again, I had to like rebuy all the games. I had to rebuy all the DLCs and such for like the Call of Duty games. So yeah, there was a lot of repurchasing there. I still gotta buy some of the games that I had back then, because we had a ton there. So there's plenty of games where like, yes, I experienced them on the PS3 before. I just gotta get them back in my collection for those reasons. Next up, we'll start diving into, is this some of the Call of Duty games? I don't know. Again, everything's just sort of out of order here, but we got Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare. The game speaks for itself. This is hands down one of the best first-person shooters of all time, and truly revolutionized the next generation at the time of first-person shooters, because before this, we had great FPS games. Halo 2, Time Splitters 2, 007 on the N64 even, going like 2 generations before that. So we had plenty of great first-person shooters, but this one truly revolutionized, like, okay, this is the standard. This is how first-person shooters are going to be going forward. And ever since this game, every game has kind of followed that formula, at least when it comes to the first-person shooting aspect of things, even if the gameplay isn't to a T. But, man, Call of Duty 4, like, again, where do I even begin with this game? The multiplayer is freaking fantastic. The modding scene on PC was really cool. You got people that, like, ended up adding zombies in this down the line after World of War came out, which was really cool. And then the campaign, absolutely iconic. I ran the training course more than I played through the actual campaign, I'm pretty sure. But, you know, I still ended up playing the campaign multiple times, obviously, over the years. I usually go back to it at least once a year. And then when the remaster came out in 2016 alongside Infinite Warfare, I do remember pre-ordering the Legacy Edition of Infinite Warfare just so I could get the remaster version of this game, and played that basically just as much as I did Infinite Warfare that year. Call of Duty 4. I owe so much to this game. The amount of memories I made on this game, just the amount of inspiration that this game would end up having on the gaming industry and the Call of Duty franchise as a whole cannot be expressed enough. Call of Duty 4 is such a fantastic game, and a game that is very similar to that is Call of Duty World at War. And Call of Duty 4 and World at War are more similar than people typically realize. It's running on basically the exact same engine as Call of Duty 4. All of the Call of Duty games technically run on the same engine, that being the IW engine, but there's been different iterations of it over the years. Right now they're on like version 20-something, I'm pretty sure. Like, it's freaking insane. Or no, I might be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure it's like version 9. I forget. It's somewhere in there. Somewhere between 9 and 23. It's one of those numbers. But anyway, these games are basically running on the same version of said engine, except obviously this one was set in World War II, so it felt a little bit different. This game also, I feel like, was just a bit glitchier than Call of Duty 4. Specifically, I'm thinking of like the suction cup glue zombies, you know, where you try to stab them and the gravity just kind of like sucks you into them in World of War. That kind of happened in like the campaign and the multiplayer as well, and there was just some other things, but there was some developmental troubles behind this game, so it's kind of a miracle that we got this. I mean, I say this game, but really a lot of the Call of Duties, it's a miracle that we got a lot of them. Just due to the developmental circumstances behind them. I think of games like this and Black Ops 4 that were just like, just barely made it in time, and even when they did, there were some issues that needed ironed out. But I mean, Call of Duty World at War, one of the best Call of Duties of all time. This is where Nazi zombies, hopefully YouTube doesn't like kill me for saying that, I don't really care. It's the name of the game. If they're gonna yell at me for doing it, then, you know, suck my ass, I don't really care. But anyway, this is where zombies was introduced, and was obviously my introduction to zombies, as it was for anybody else. And that was the moment where I truly fell in love, and I loved it so much that on my iPod Touch, because in 2009, right, they put out a Call of Duty Zombies mobile app. And I ended up buying it. It was like $5. Came with all the DLC maps. You know, as the DLCs dropped, they would add them to the game, and it was really cool. Unfortunately, that app ended up being delisted, but I do still have it on my Apple account, so I still have that, as well as the Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies app that ended up coming out after BO1 came out, so that was pretty cool. Anyway, I keep saying we're gonna pick things up, but we've barely even dented this first stack. I mean, actually, no, we have. We've made some pretty good progress. We've already gone through almost 20 games, but we're gonna keep rolling. Brink, a pretty underrated first-person shooter, had a pretty rad campaign and a fun multiplayer. I always thought this was one of those games. Oh, it was also published by Bethesda. Should also mention that. I always forget that. You know, when I think of Brink, I, don't really think Bethesda. But yeah, it was really cool. Had a lot of cool movement tech in it. It was sort of like the first, not necessarily like the first hero shooter, but one of the first hero shooters that really tried to go like all in on that concept, it seems like. But unfortunately, it seemed to have a good bit of recognition on launch, but it just kind of didn't stick long term in the way that I wish that it could have. It is currently also free to play on Steam. I don't know if maybe there's like a dedicated community there, but it's a lot of fun. I recommend checking it out. Next up, we got Borderlands 2, a game that speaks for itself. Handsome Jack, Butt Stallion, Claptrack, all the beloved characters. Tons of loot, tons of guns, tons of goodness. I am so excited for Borderlands 4 later this year, just to kind of date this video. I am so excited for that game. I love the Borderlands franchise. And Borderlands, I will say this, I played the first one, obviously, absolutely loved that game, but Borderlands 2 is what took me from just being a Borderlands fan, loving the heck out of Borderlands, to being a Borderlands fanatic, just taking everything from 1 and just ramping it up to 1,000,000. Love Borderlands 2 so much. I've bought that game multiple times now. Next up, we got Demon's Souls, the first Souls-like to do the Souls-like thing by From Software. This is a PlayStation 3 exclusive, and same thing with the remake nowadays. It is, just exclusive to PlayStation 5 if you want to play it there. Personally, when I revisit this game, I still go back to the PS3 version. I'm also really salty that this is greatest hits. As you probably noticed so far, I only buy Black Label games when I can help it, because I don't like greatest hits, but this is one that I bought brand new, so this was actually, like, one of the only games in my pile that I got to buy brand new, which is pretty cool, but, yeah, it was greatest hits, because I bought it from Amazon, so, yeah, that kind of sucked. But, otherwise, one day I'll buy a Black Label, because that's just how I am. I'm kind of picky about those things. I'm still going to buy a Black Label at some point, but really glad to have this in my collection. Absolutely love Demon's Souls. I do have to say I was late to the whole Souls thing. I didn't beat my first Souls game until 2022, but after that I binged, because I played Dark Souls 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then I went on to do Elden Ring, and then went just, circle back to, like, Bloodborne, Sekiro, and Demon's Souls and everything, and yeah, love the Souls games. Love them so much. Love them so much that I cry every time that I beat them. Next up, we got Dead Island, which is a game that, for a while, the sequel to this game, I know I'm talking about the sequel rather than just this game itself, but Dead Island 2 is a game that was stuck in developmental hell for a very long time. We never knew we were going to see it, but thankfully we finally did. But circling back here to talk about Dead Island, yeah, this game is freaking fantastic. For those that don't know, this is a first-person shooter. There goes my AC. Gotta love when that thing starts blaring, where you can craft a bunch of different crazy weapons, right? Like, you start the game with, say, a baseball bat, but by the end of the game, that same baseball bat will be wrapped in chains and have, like, electricity going throughout it, and you can get, like, these crazy guns that shoot all this crazy stuff or whatever. Like, Dead Island is such a cool game. There's a lot of different ways to modify your weapons and modify your build in general. If you haven't played Dead Island, definitely recommend playing this one. The sequel's obviously also out now, Dead Island 2. Honestly, you could just dive into Dead Island 2 without playing Dead Island 1, but I'd still recommend playing Dead Island 1, and also Riptide if you haven't played that one before. They constantly go on sale for less than $5 on like Xbox and PlayStation and Steam, so you might as well pick them up. It's the definitive editions. Personally, I prefer the color palette. That's what I was trying to think of, color palette. I don't think I ended up finding the word earlier, but yeah, color palette and like art style of the PS3 360 version of the game, but definitive version is fine. Next up, we have one of my top 5 favorite games of all time, The Last of Us. The story of Joel and Ellie. I remember playing this game for the first time shortly after it came out and immediately falling in love, and then I went back and replayed it again. Because originally I played this on PS3 years ago after it first came out, and then I played it on PlayStation 4. I played the remastered version back in 2021 just because it had been a while. I was going through a really rough time, and I won't go too deep into it now because I don't want to get too deep into the emotional side of things, but The Last of Us and subsequently The Last of Us 2 not only saved my life, but ultimately changed the way that I view life and just the way that I look at a lot of things and the world in general. So I owe a lot to The Last of Us, but I love this game. Currently loving the TV show as well. At the time of recording this, season 2, the final episode is coming out here in a few days, so I'm excited. I already know how they're gonna cut it off at the end of season 2, and I'm already pissed because I know they're gonna leave us on a cliffhanger, but really excited to see that. And yeah, if you haven't played The Last of Us or Part 2 before, highly recommend it. It's such a good game. Oh, we have another collection here. The PlayStation 3, there were so many collections on this console, but this is the Tomb Raider Trilogy, which includes Legend, Anniversary, and Underworld. So this isn't like the original PS1 trilogy. This is like the second trilogy, kind of, but still fantastic games right here. I love how many Tomb Raider games there are, and yet you know, when it comes to like the modern generation, they probably only know Lara Croft and Tomb Raider from the new ones, right? 2013, Rise, and then Shadow of the Tomb Raider. But yeah, if you haven't played the original games before, you can still buy the original PS1 games on PS3 digitally. I don't believe they ever got a physical release of any kind up until the recent remasters, at which point they did actually remaster Tomb Raider 1 through 3 and then 4 through 6. So, you know, you can also pick those games up there as well. But yeah, you know, I'd also recommend picking up, you know, this collection here, because these games are also fantastic. I believe I have some more collections here. It wouldn't surprise me. Again, there was tons of collections on the console. They had like a Jack and Daxter collection, you know, Sly Cooper collection. There was a tons of stuff. I ended up buying the Sly Cooper collection digitally on PS3 just because it was only like 15 bucks at the time. So I don't have that one physically, but I already have them on my PS2. So, you know, it is what it is. If I'm going to revisit those games, I'm going to revisit them on original hardware. I just like picking up collections sometimes just for the sake of it. Adds more games to the collection. Next up, I got Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Future Soldier. A pretty underrated entry in the Tom Clancy series, if I'm going to be honest. You know, a lot of people talk about some of the other games, like obviously you got like Rainbow Six Siege or The Division, but when it comes to some of these games that are a bit more, I guess, niche maybe now compared to like the more modern games, I just feel like they deserve a bit more recognition, because Future Soldier was a really cool game and had a lot of cool tech inside of it. Next up, speaking of like Rainbow Six and such, we got Rainbow Six Vegas. I have Rainbow Six Vegas 2 on the Xbox 360, so that's just one of those things where I have the first one here, second one over on Xbox 360. But these games are pretty cool. This is, the Rainbow Six Vegas games essentially let you play team leader. You know, you get to command your team around, take cover here, shoot here, okay, hold your position. That kind of thing. So, it's really cool. Love playing through these games. Definitely recommend checking them out if you haven't before. They're very unique. Oh, yeah, we got some Transformers. I forgot, I have multiple Transformers games on PS3. For some reason, I always think that I only have the one, but no, I have multiple of them. Okay, so this is Transformers Fall of Cybertron. All the Transformers games during this generation were freaking insane, and the fact that this was published by Activision, which means that Microsoft technically owns them now, gives me hope that maybe we could see some of those games added to the backwards compatibility list so the modern generation could experience those games. Maybe, just maybe, or maybe we could get like a remaster or a remake or re-release or a new Transformers game. I think that'd be pretty cool, man. I would pay some serious bucks just to see that happen. Oh, we got some amazing games right here. Unfortunately, I don't own the first one, but I already played it. You know, again, this is just one of those situations where, like, yes, I had it, or I played it in one way or another, but unfortunately, since I'm still rebuilding my PS3 collection after everything, there's still some games I gotta get. So we got Uncharted 2 and 3 here, some amazing games, but unfortunately, am missing Drake's Fortune here on the PS3. The ending, not gonna spoil it, but the ending to Uncharted 3 always gets me in the feels, just because it's such a real and grounded moment between Sully and Nathan, and I love it. It's not one of those moments where it's necessarily like a tearjerker. I mean, it kind of is, because it's very real and very grounded. And I don't know. There's something about that scene. I've always just thought it was so beautiful. And then leading up to the credits, love that game. And also Uncharted 4. Just give that game a shout out as well. One of my favorite video games of all time. Next up, we got Warriors Legends of Troy. This is a game set during like that Rome era. I'm gonna be honest, this is just one of those games that I ended up getting from a lot, but it's pretty cool. Got some fun action inside of it. Next up, we got another lot game right here. This being White Knight Chronicles International Edition, which is actually like an MMO, but you are able to play a good bit of it like offline and single player. Ooh, next up we got a cool one, except there's a ugly sticker on it that I'm gonna try to peel off. I don't think it's gonna come off. Yeah, this one's... Wait, maybe it will. Nope, that one's not gonna come off. Alright, we're gonna have to whip out the Goo Gone for that one. Anyway, this is XCOM Enemy Unknown. For those that don't know, XCOM are tactical RPGs. Is that... I guess these would technically be like tactical RPGs, strategy RPGs, whatever you want to call them. You know, it's similar to Rainbow Six Vegas in the way that you're commanding your team around. It's not similar gameplay style, it's just similar concept, I guess, right? Like you're commanding your squad around, you tell them when to attack, you tell them when to take cover. It's similar to, say, Mario and Rabbids, right? You just kind of command your team around the board, try to take out all the enemies, make sure you don't die, you level up every time that you complete a mission, and you just kind of go through the campaign. XCOM, there's XCOM Enemy Unknown, there's also Enemy Within, and then there's XCOM 2 on the modern consoles. There was also XCOM games back in the day, but just in terms of the modern entries, those are like the 3 newer ones. I'm not sure if there's ever been any word on XCOM 3. I hope there is, though, because XCOM 2 is really cool. Next up, we got Transformers Dark of the Moon. Once again, wasn't sure that I had another Transformers game. Actually, I thought this was the only one that I had. I forgot that I got Fall of Cybertron, which actually I ended up getting for really cheap, because this game typically goes for a good bit, but I ended up getting it out of a lot, and when I did the math, it would have only cost me like $5 for this game, I think, which is freaking awesome. But yeah, got Dark of the Moon here, which is similar enough gameplay-wise to Fall of Cybertron. Still a really good game, though, and I ended up getting that one for like I want to say like 8, 9, 10 bucks maybe from GameStop a few months ago, which was really cool. Because normally that game also goes for not a ton, but still a good bit in the grand scheme, or a bit more. Again, not like super expensive or anything. Next up, we got The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, which is a game that is kind of broken on PS3. Basically, the more you play it, and the bigger your save file gets, the more the game breaks, the more the game lags, the more you'll get graphical glitches. Basically, the more you play it, the more the game breaks. So, it's a shame. You can still technically play and beat the game on PS3. It's just, it's going to be basically broken by the time you beat it. So, if you're going to revisit the original versions of Skyrim, you can either tough it out on PS3, or I'd probably recommend just going and getting it on, like, Xbox 360. When I got it again on Xbox 360 recently, it cost me, like, $3 at my retro game store. Not a big deal. Also available on all the modern consoles, of course, so... yeah, unfortunately, PS3 is probably the worst way to play this game just because it breaks and punishes you just for playing it, which kind of sucks. Next up, we got Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 Remix, which includes Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts Rechain of Memories, which is like the card-based one, and then Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, and this one, it's like less of a game and just more like HD cinematics or whatever. But yeah, this is pretty cool because Final Mix here, it was the first time that that version of the game specifically was released in North America. It's really cool, because originally we just had Kingdom Hearts 1, obviously, and then Final Mix was released, like, over in Japan, but then we finally got it here via this collection. And again, this isn't just exclusive to PS3. If you want to get this, you know, version specifically, you can also get it on, say, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Series X and S. Okay, I can tell that my brain's already giving out here. We still have 2 massive stacks of games to go, and we're not even finished with the first stack yet. My brain's already giving out, so... alright, I think I gotta bunker down here. I'm putting on the headphones for a minute because I'm not gonna lie, I get a headache back here sometimes because when I'm talking, the echo resistance isn't very good because I don't have as many soundproof panels back here as I should. So the sound is constantly bouncing from the wall back at me and it makes my head hurt, so I'm putting on the headphones so then I don't have to hear that echo. It's just a very weird thing. Next up, we got GTA 5, a game that has been re-released. Like a couple of times now, right? We had like the original release, PS4 and Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, PS5, PC, and then we had the PC Enhanced Edition recently, so, you know, it's another Skyrim situation where it's been re-released dozens of times. I'm surprised this game never ended up coming to the Nintendo Switch, but GTA 5 speaks for itself, one of the best-selling games of all time, right behind Minecraft. Fantastic game. This and GTA 4 are... definitely some of my favorite entries in the series, though if I'm going to be honest, it's hard for me to pick a favorite. I love all of them for different reasons. I love the moody atmosphere of 3. I love the, just, you know, the 80s Scarface vibes of Vice City. I love the, how do I say this without getting canceled? The hood atmosphere of San Andreas. I'm just trying to say that in the most respectful way possible, because I really do appreciate and love hood culture, like, you know, watching movies like Straight Outta Compton, playing games like GTA San Andreas, or games that tackle similar themes. I really enjoy seeing that stuff, even though obviously I know nothing about that lifestyle. I never lived it myself. I just find this stuff to be very intriguing, listening to music about it, watching stuff about it, playing through games about it. Next up, we have one of probably my favorite game of all time, EA Sports Active 2 Personal Trainer. Next up, we have a bunch of Batman games. So we have multiple versions of the same game here, actually. So we got Batman Arkham Asylum. This is very similar to the COD games, where I know I probably don't need to say a whole lot about these games. If you haven't played the Arkham games before somehow, you're doing yourself a massive disservice. They're all available on modern platforms in some way, barring Arkham Origins, which is only available via backwards compatibility on Xbox One, Series X and S. So that is kind of a tricky... actually, no, that's a lie. It is also available via PS3 streaming on PS5. So if you have decent internet, PlayStation has really upped their game with streaming lately. I've been revisiting some games like Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z, Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga, Injustice Gods Among Us via the PS3 streaming on PS5, and it has been a seamless experience. Basically feels like native, so you don't really have an excuse if you have that service and if you have decent internet. Definitely check out Arkham Origins, but also make sure you check out the other games. You got like Arkham Asylum here, as well as Arkham City, which we'll talk about why I own that game multiple times. But they have the Return to Arkham versions, which are very good and competent versions of the game. So you got Arkham Asylum, which is the first one. And then you have Arkham City, which was a bit of a thing when it released. So, and not talking about the game's quality. Game's a 10 out of 10. Love Arkham City. But basically, the game released, but then there was some content that you could only get if you had the Game of the Year edition of the game. And I made sure to get this one specifically, so then all of the content would be on disc. And it is a shame because you got all these ugly, like, ratings all over, like, oh, 10 out of 10, and all this ugly text, whereas I definitely much prefer the clean look of the vanilla copy. However, it's a situation where I was like, okay, I want the vanilla copy, I want the original cover art, but I also want all the DLC and content. So I was like, I'm just gonna buy the game twice. So, You know, so I have this here just so I have a nice version of the game, but then I also have, like, the Catwoman stuff, which literally is integral to the main story and ties into it, and you don't get from just the vanilla experience, as well as, like, the Harley Quinn's Revenge and all the different packs and challenge maps and such, which you do get all of that content just right out the gate if you buy the Return to Arkham versions of the game, which also go for, like, $3, $5, something like that constantly, so you don't really have an excuse. Check these games out, and then obviously also goes for, like, Arkham Origins here, which is technically a prequel to all of the Arkham games, but I still recommend playing. And Batman and Joker in the game were also voiced by different voice actors, so if you play the game and you feel like, okay, the vibes are a little different here, that's why, but writing-wise, story-wise, gameplay-wise, it's unapologetically Arkham, and it is a fantastic game. And once you finish these, again, make sure you go to play Arkham Knight as well, which is available on all the modern consoles, PC, etc. The PC version was a little rough at launch. Don't know if it's been ironed out since or what the state of it is nowadays, but I'm sure there's plenty of fan mods out there to get it running in an acceptable manner. Next up, let's go ahead and knock out some... Oh, what the fuck? Who the hell ate my Assassin's Creed 2 case? That's disgusting, dude. I'm gonna have to switch that... Ew, what the fuck? Anyway, excuse my language. Anyway, we got Assassin's Creed 3. Great game right here. One of the more underrated entries in the series. I feel like this one doesn't get as much love as it deserves. Like, the people that look back at this game fondly, look back at it fondly, but I just feel like, you know, compared to, like, 2, or just the whole Ezio trilogy, which we'll be talking about here, doesn't get as much love as it should, which then, yeah, Assassin's Creed 2, look at that, dude. It's like fucking, like, dog, like, ate my cake. Like, what the hell? I mean, if the cover art, yeah, the cover art's in perfect condition, that's an easy case swap. That just pisses me off. I don't even know when the... I didn't know this case was that messed up. I do have another game like that in here, though. It's Dark Souls. I'll just go ahead and spoil it. Looks like a dog freaking, like, mangled it or something. But yeah, AC2, I remember playing this for the first time on PS3 back in the day. Fell in love immediately with the gameplay and the story and everything. AC2 is one of my favorite video games of all time. And you got Brotherhood and Revelations, which literally just, you know, they're all part of the Ezio trilogy. These are sequels to Assassin's Creed 2. It's one of those situations where the naming schemes can be a little tricky because it's similar to, like, say, Final Fantasy X, where it's like, okay, do I play 11 after 10, or do I play 10-2 after 10? Because, you know, they're all kind of standalone in their own ways. Assassin's Creed has always been kind of similar in that aspect. So, yeah, if you've ever been unsure about how to play the Ezio trilogy, it's 2, Brotherhood, and then Revelations. They also just have the Ezio trilogy available nowadays on modern consoles if you want to play it that way. Also, if you do decide to play Revelations on PlayStation 3 and get a physical copy, there is an edition of the game that includes the first Assassin's Creed game on the disc for Revelations. I didn't get that one because I didn't want, like, the ugly little tag there that says includes bonus game. Yeah, I literally passed up on a free game just so I could have the vanilla cover art. You can tell what kind of collector I am. Black labels only, release cover art, buying games twice just to have, you know, the respectable versions of the games that I desire. I also have to do that for Borderlands 2. I want to buy the Game of the Year edition that includes all the DLC. My voice is giving out, by the way, so this kind of sucks because we still have a stack and a half of games to go. But the Game of the Year edition includes, like, a bunch of DLC and such, so I want to buy that at some point. Anyway, next up we got Army of Two, which is similar to Rainbow Six Vegas in the way that you're going to be playing as a group of 2 soldiers in this game, right? You can play it co-op if you want, like with a friend. I'm crying for some reason. I don't know if it's because the pain in my throat is getting to me or if it's something else. It's okay, I promise. But anyway, you can either play it as, like, a duo in this game, you know, get some friends together to play it that way, split screen or online. Or you can also just play the game alone with, like, the bot in the game. The AI also does a great job. When I played through this game for the first time... Actually, when I played through all the Army of Two games, I played through all of them solo. There was only one time that I played with my younger brother, and that was on the Devil's Cartel. And either way you do it, you know, it's completely fine. But again, yeah, you know, you'll kind of just be, like, squad leader in this game. It's definitely a cover shooter type of game. Think very similar to, like, Gears of War. Honestly, it's very similar to Gears of War. At least it feels like it. I mean, it's definitely less gritty, and there's not as much as, like, oh, the crazy chainsaw gore and all that. But it's just in terms of the weightiness of the shooting and the cover and everything like that. That if I had to draw a comparison, that's what I'd draw the comparison to, honestly. Next up, we have a really underrated game that I'm glad got a re-release recently on GOG.com, that being Alpha Protocol. This game was also published by Sega, but this is a really underrated, niche, kind of, you know, just obscure, like, RPG from the era. There's a lot of choices you can make throughout the game, the action's a lot of fun, and I honestly, like... I'm trying to think about what I can talk about this game without spoiling it, because this is one of those games where it really does kind of get off to the races, like, as soon as it starts. So, I will just say this. If you haven't played Alpha Protocol before, there is ways to play it nowadays. Just kind of do your research. Definitely pick up a copy or, you know, get on GOG or whatever to play it. Also, this game was made by Obsidian, so if you know anything about Obsidian, they make amazing games. Next up, we got 2 games that I already kind of talked about before, so I'll just kind of, you know, flash them real quick. Dark Souls, this is the copyright, you know, you can see the front's a little wrinkled, and then the back, yeah, somebody's, like, dog got to it. You can see all, like, the scuff marks. That really pissed me off when it showed up because the seller didn't bother to tell me about that. In the picture, it looked clean, but clearly it wasn't. So, got Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2 here. Fantastic video games, of course. I mean, again, I cried when I beat Dark Souls for the first time. I cried when I beat Dark Souls 2, but for the wrong reasons, just because the game pissed me off that bad. Here's the thing. Dark Souls 2 really pissed me off, but I love Dark Souls 2. It's a very... not love-hate relationship. It's just a very toxic relationship with me and Dark Souls 2, okay? It's one of those things where it's like, baby, I love you. Baby, I hate you. You know the song Love the Way You Lie by Eminem? That's how me and Dark Souls 2 are. It's like that constant push and pull, but at the end of the day, I'll always love this game, man. Even if the enemy ganks get annoying and the statues of Yor and the Scholar of the First Sin Edition, you know, and the fact that you can literally lock yourself out of some endgame progress if you use the statues to... it's a whole thing. Anyway... Darksiders 2, a sequel to yet another, do I say underrated, hidden gem? It's not exactly a hidden gem, because, like, I mean, it's a gem, but I feel like Darksiders is popular enough to not necessarily be a hidden gem, but it's not popular enough for me to say underrated, because I truly do feel that it is. Darksiders 1 and 2 are fantastic games, as well as the other games, like 3 and Genesis, and there's also news that we're going to be getting, like, a new Darksiders game here, which is insane, and we also got the Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition a bit ago. Well, we technically got the Definitive Edition years ago on the PS4 and Xbox One, but they recently just did, like, another re-release of it for PS5 and Series X and S, which brings it up to 4K, like 60 or 120 FPS or something like that, because the Definitive Edition already ran at 60 FPS, so I'm pretty sure they gave it, like, another boost, but might be wrong about that. Anyway, Darksiders games are fantastic. Check them out. Next up, we got Crysis. Can it run Crysis? Yes, it can. Unfortunately, Crysis 1 was never released on PS3. It only released on Xbox 360, though it did finally release on, like, PS4, and then obviously also, like, Xbox One and such with the Crysis remastered trilogy that came out a few years ago. That remaster slash remake, technically more of a remake, but still, you know, looked fantastic. And then here, Crysis 2 and 3. These games definitely are on the PS3 and 360. Do they run the greatest? I do remember Crysis 2 turning into a slideshow at a few parts, but as somebody that grew up with, say, the PlayStation 2, the N64, the PlayStation 1, split screen 007 running at 5 FPS, frames don't fucking matter to me, dude. I don't care. Like, when people are online like, oh, this game runs at 30 FPS, I'm like, oh, wow, that's a good frame rate. Because I'm used to games running at like 5 FPS, so like, I don't give a shit. If the game plays, then, you know, it's fine. Like, I don't care. But anyway, yeah, if you want to play a version of Crysis 2 and 3 that run a bit better, probably look elsewhere. But if you're like me and you don't care and you just want to play fun video games, you can pick them up on the PS3. They go for pretty cheap nowadays. Oh boy. Speaking of games that barely ran on the PS3, let's look at Black Ops 3, dog. This game on the Xbox 360 and PS3. No campaign, multiplayer zombies only got one DLC, a good DLC at that, but holy crap, dog. I remember all the unfinished animations in this game, like there was the one for the XR2. I'll never forget when you reload it, bro. Like, look at this water bottle. Pretend this is the handle of the gun. It will, like, go inside and out of your hand like that while you're, like, sliding the clip into the thing. It was a whole thing. But, this was my experience with Black Ops 3 for, like, the first year. Because I didn't get an Xbox One until, like, 2016, so... You know, I had fun that year, though. And don't worry, I did end up getting to play, like, the real version of the game, because I went to my buddy's house, and I played on his Xbox One, like, shortly after the game launched. And then I also had, like, other buddies I was able to play with, and I kept up with all the YouTube content. So even though I didn't really get to experience Black Ops 3 in all of its glory until after IW released, it was still a fun year. Still, you know, played it like crazy on Xbox 360 and had a great time. Next up, we got a really underrated game here, COD Ghost. I've always felt like this game deserves way more love than it gets. Fantastic first-person shooter and a great Call of Duty game at that, and it's a shame that we'll never get a follow-up to the cliffhanger that they left us on at the end. Next up, we got one of my top 5 of all time, Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Amazing campaign, timeless multiplayer, fantastic zombies. My personal favorite zombies experience to this day, just because of the myriad of experiences. The fact that we had Jimmy Zielinski and Jason Blundell both working on the zombies in this game really led to an awesome dynamic between the maps, alternating DLCs. One DLC we get Die Rise, the next we get Mob of the Dead, the next we get Buried, the next we get Origins, and we also had like Nuketown in there. Sorry if I'm blanking a lot, the LED is starting to just blind me. But the dynamic between the insanity and chaos of Zielinski maps and the controlled chaos of Jason Blundell maps was a beautiful dynamic to have in this game, and that's part of why I love Black Ops 2 so much, outside of the overall gameplay and the way that the engine feels. Love Black Ops 2. Next up, we got Modern Warfare 3, a timeless Call of Duty game. What can I say? The perfect ending to the Modern Warfare trilogy. I couldn't have thought of a better way to end it. Tied up all the loose ends, and not to mention like the Spec Ops, the survival mode in this game, the multiplayer. Just... Oh, I'll never forget And the one time me and my one buddy came over, right, for a sleepover, and we stayed up all night playing survival, and it was on the map Underground, and I'll never forget the way we had it set up, right? So we'd sit at the counter, get sentry guns going to the left of it, one at that like back doorway there, and then we get posted up with our LMGs gunning down anybody that came straight at us, man. Oh. That sleepover is literally like one of my core memories, just that one night alone, not to mention all the other nights that I spent playing this game and, you know, hitting like 360 no-scope trick shots with the boys, constantly going into the sensitivity menu to crank up your sensitivity just so you could hit those shots, and then, again, just playing through the campaign a ton, man. I owe a lot to Modern Warfare 3, as well as another game we'll go ahead and talk about real quick, that being, ooh, these games are stuck together. Modern Warfare 3 and Modern Warfare 2. Everything that I said about 3 basically goes for 2. The campaign in this game is also fantastic. Such a great ending, and similar to Ghost, left on a bit of a cliffhanger, but obviously we got Modern Warfare 3, so it's okay, because this one tied everything up. The multiplayer in this game, absolutely timeless. I'm still praying that one day we get a remaster of the Modern Warfare 3 and 2 multiplayers, because we got the campaign remaster, but not the multiplayer, so I'd love to see that, as well as the campaign remaster for Modern Warfare 3. But, man, oh, and the Spec Ops in this game, too. Oh, I remember playing that snowmobile mission all the time. You know, the one where you're, like, racing? Because obviously that was a part of the normal campaign as well. But they had a Spec Ops one where you could literally just do that over and over. Oh, God, the Spec Ops in these games are so good. And then Call of Duty Black Ops 1. Come on, dog. Campaign, multiplayer, zombies, everything about this game, 10 out of 10. The zombies DLC maps in this game are absolutely insane. Also, I'm sorry if you can hear the fan in the background. I had to turn on another one because I was getting a little toasty back here. Been yapping for a while. All the blood's flowing in my head. But anyway, the DLC maps in this game, right? We have like Ascension and Call of the Dead, where, rest in peace, George Romero was like the zombie boss in that map. And then Shangri-La. And then finally Moon? Going to the, like, hello? And that's some of the most iconic maps in Call of Duty history, where introduce you with like Nuketown and Firing Range, for example. Such a fantastic game. Unfortunately, this one also got a little sliced up at some point. That is the unfortunate part about ordering games online. Sometimes you can't get the full idea for how the game's gonna arrive, because in the pictures it looks flawless, and sometimes they psych you out and they'll have multiple copies of the game. They'll show a flawless copy and then send you a dinged up one, so, you know, I got a few case swaps I gotta do, but thankfully the cover art is in... Let me just double check before I say this. Yes, the cover art is in perfect condition, so this will be an easy case swap. On to the final stack of games. We have a whole stack. Okay. Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain. It's very similar to games like Beyond Two Souls, Detroit Become Human. You make a lot of choices. I'm sorry, I need a second. It doesn't help. My chair is leather, so it conducts a lot of heat. So I'm like overheating back here because it's just like, it absorbs all my heat and I hate it. I'm sorry, I just got to get out of that chair for a second. Anyway. Heavy Rain, very similar to, say, like Detroit Become Human, the Beyond Two Souls, other games like that. It's a story-based game, a lot of cinematics. There is a bit of gameplay sprinkled throughout, of course. Very intriguing story. This game was also re-released on like PS4, so if you want to play it on your PS4 or PS5, you can also do it that way. And this game is also where the Jason meme comes from. Next up, we got Homefront, which is a really underrated game from this generation. I love this game as well as its sequel, Homefront Revolution. Homefront Revolution was really cool because that one was like, okay, what if Far Cry was set in like a, what would it be, urban or suburban environment? I don't know the difference between like urban, suburban, and rural, so I'm sorry about that. But this game was definitely a bit different. It didn't really have as many like those elements per se. This was more of a straightforward first-person shooter, but Homefront Revolution had a lot of really cool mechanics inside of it, and this game sort of like laid the groundwork for that. Both games are fantastic. I recommend, like, you don't really have to play you don't have to play this one before Revolution, but I'd still recommend doing so just because both these games are really good. This game also had a really cool multiplayer mode. I remember you could do up to like 32 players. It was really cool. Oh, yes! Next up, we got a series that PlayStation really needs to bring back. Infamous 1 and 2. There was obviously also other, you know, Infamous games as well. We had like Infamous Second Son and then First Light, which was like a standalone expansion of Second Son. Basically, in these games, you have the choice. Do you want to be Infamous and be like an anti-hero, or do you want to be just full-on hero and make good decisions? There's no wrong way to play it. You get like different choices and endings depending on what you do, whether you decide to be the good guy or the bad guy. Personally, I'm one of those people where I always choose to be the good guy. I'm one of those people in video games where I let my real life morals reflect inside of the game. So if there's an option to kill somebody, I always choose to spare them. If there is a choice between good or bad, I do good. Unless I'm really just trying to be a villain just to see what happens, but I always choose good. Like Spider-Man Web of Shadows, that's another game, very similar, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna make the good decisions here, be the good Spider-Man. But yeah, these games are really cool. You know, you got like awesome superpowers, it's an open world game, right? Like, especially once you get to like Infamous Second Son, because these games were freaking fantastic too, obviously, right? There was like crazy destruction and all that, but especially once you get to Second Son on the PS4, they had more hardware there to work with, so like ramp things up with the destruction and the superpower side of things and just how flashy everything gets. I remember that game had really good contrast too between the darks and the lights, so it just always looks so cool. Next up, we got more games that PlayStation needs to bring back. Killzone 2 and 3, their flagship first-person shooters. The fact that we haven't got a game since Shadowfall makes me so sad, because while yes, Shadowfall was a great game, they also like shut the servers off, I'm pretty sure, so you can't even play that game online anymore. The campaign was great, but still, there's been fan efforts to keep these games online at least, but man, we need more Killzone. Also, Killzone 2 is that game that's like notorious for PlayStation using a fake gameplay sample during their E3 segment, where they were like, oh, this is real gameplay, but it actually wasn't. It was like a pre-rendered cinematic, so that's a whole thing. But yeah, if you haven't played Killzone before, I'd actually recommend going back and playing the first one on PlayStation 2, or you could get the HD version on PlayStation 3. I don't believe it's available via the streaming service on PlayStation 5, so you really have to go either PS3 or probably just PS2 for that one, because I believe PS2 would be the cheapest way to get that game. Next up, we have another one of my top 5 favorite games of all time, that being Lego Batman. Unironically, just love this game. Got it back on PS2 back in the day, and as soon as I got that game, I immediately fell in love. 100%ed it multiple times. I've talked about this in so many videos. I love the Lego games, and especially like Lego Batman. Probably my favorite my favorite Lego game, followed by like Lego Star Wars 1 and 2, aka the complete saga. And I think one thing I've always loved about Lego Batman is the attitude of it, right? Because it has a lot of those Tim Burton vibes in it. Like, it's very much heavily based on those original movies. You know, like the Penguin bits draw inspiration from Batman Returns. The Joker segments draw inspiration from the original Batman from '89, and then, you know, you got all the other villains in the game, and I've always just loved how dark and moody the game is between its soundtrack and the atmosphere and everything. This is another one that I'm probably going to replay soon. I was actually thinking about replaying it on my PSP this time, just, you know, something to do before bed, right? Like lay in bed, play on my PSP for a bit, just really take me back to those days when we play on our DS before bed or play on our PSP before bed, and, you know, stick it under the pillow if you hear mom or dad coming. Yeah, a lot of great memories of this game. I love Lego Batman. Sorry for gushing so much, I can't help it. Next up, we got Lego Batman 2. Let's just fly through the Lego games, right? Because I feel like what I have to say about one Lego game is what I have to say about the rest of them. Oh, I only have 3 Lego games on PlayStation 3. I thought I had more. Oh, that's right. I think I have the rest of them actually on Xbox 360. Yeah, I have the rest of them on 360. Yeah, Lego Pirates, movie, Marvel, Star Wars Complete Saga, Star Wars 3. Okay. Yeah, but, so we got Lego Batman 2 and Lego Lord of the Rings here. Honestly, I'm, like, more people need to talk about Lego Lord of the Rings. This game was so cool. It had, like, that semi, open world. This was also one of the first Lego games to have voice acting. It wasn't the first. The first was Lego Batman 2, but this was still one of the first ones to, fully incorporate it. Took a lot of inspiration from the movies, of course, and yeah, Lego Lord of the Rings is a really cool game. It was also released on, the 3DS and PS Vita and such. Those are obviously different versions of the game, technically, because that's a whole can of worms where there's multiple versions of the same game, technically. Like, Lego Batman 2 released on the 3DS and the PS3, for example, but they're technically 2 completely different games, even though they share the same name. They follow a similar framework and story, but they just play differently. That's just how games were back then. I think I've cooled off enough to sit in my chair again. Sorry about that. The leather seriously attracts so much heat that it makes me lightheaded after a while. I gotta get a different chair. I need to get, a breathable mesh ergonomic one or something. But anyways, yeah, that's just how games were back then, and it was actually even, I wouldn't say even worse about that, but I would just say it was even more different than that back in, the 2000s, for example, where, sure, Lego Batman 2 were technically 2 different games on PS3 and 3DS or PS Vita, but at least they resembled each other very closely. But when you get back to, again, the GBA PS2 era, oh, Star Wars Episode 3 on PS2 and Xbox is, this 3D God of War-esque game, but then on GBA, it's a Turtles in Time clone. Again, both were fantastic games, it was just very different due to different hardware limitations of the day. Next up, we have another one of my favorite games of all time, EA Sports Madden NFL 12. Next up, we actually have Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Fate of Two Worlds. Marvel vs. Capcom. Dog. What else do I gotta say? These games are so sick, man. Being able to play as, Ryu going up against Iron Man? Come on, dude. That is so gnarly. Next up, we got 2 underrated first-person shooters from the day. We got Medal of Honor as well as Medal of Honor Warfighter. Every time I play Medal of Honor, you know what I think of? Modern Warfare. The game just feels so Modern Warfare-esque, at least in terms of the campaign. But you know, it's very cinematic, very cool. It's definitely a bit of a shorter game, right? Like I beat it in like 5-6 hours, something like that. Sorry if there was a weird cut right there. My camera ran out of storage, which means I've been yapping for a while. Anyway, yeah, so I beat this game in like 5-6 hours, something like that. I believe that's where I was talking about. I was just talking about how like this game is, you know, it's on the shorter side, but that's not inherently a bad thing, right? Beating like 5 to 6 hours, maybe not even. But it was worth every second. Such a great game, as well as its sequel, Medal of Honor Warfighter. They definitely pull on the heartstrings by the end of the game too. I do remember that. But yeah, great games. Highly recommend. Next up, we got, oh man, another one of my top 5 of all time, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Oh my gosh, I love this game so much. A stranger I remain. Dude, this is like one of my favorite songs in this game. This game is so cool. This game is literally like, okay, what if we let the player just be a badass anime ninja? That's it. That's the tagline for the game, and that's exactly what it is, bro. This game, the boss fights, the soundtrack, bro, I love everything about this game. The final battle was centered. I'm literally crying right now, dude. I love this game so much. I literally just want to cry happy tears and, like, jump up and down with this game because I love it so much. Please, if you haven't played MGR before, it's available like backwards compatibility on Xbox 360 via, you know, like Xbox One, Series X and S and all that. It's also available on like Steam, and you can get like the PS3 version of the game. I don't think it's available on the PS Plus premium subscription, unfortunately, but this game is so good. You have to play it at least once in your lifetime, dude. Next up, we got Need for Speed Pro Street, which is when Need for Speed tried to take a bit more of a Forza Motorsporty approach to the game. It was still a great game. It was just definitely different from typical, like, underground, hot pursuit type Need for Speed games. Next up, we have a really awesome JRPG from the day, that being Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch. We ended up getting Ni no Kuni 2 a couple years later after that, obviously, but this game is really cool. I've always loved, like, the art style about it, and, you know, if I flip it over, you can see, like, some of the cool, like, artwork here. This game is a game where you play it and you just feel the love inside of it the entire time that you're playing it, between the dialogue, the music, the gameplay, and just everything about this game oozes charm. The cutscenes in this game were also animated by Studio Ghibli, which is like the, you know, one-stop shop for anime goodness. So I definitely recommend playing through Ni no Kuni 1 as well as Ni no Kuni 2 if you ever get the chance, because these games are fantastic and there was just so much love poured into these games, and I love them so much. From the creators of Doom and Quake, id and Bethesda, we have Rage. So this is like a open world first-person shooter. You know, this and Rage 2. Rage 2 is actually really cool because it kind of like iterated on this concept. You know, like all these crazy superpowers in the game, but I really don't know, like, what else to say about the game, right? Like, it's a great game. It's a lot of fun. First-person shooter, again, open world, kind of in, like, this nomad-y, deserty environment. All I gotta say is if you haven't played Rage before, it's available on Xbox 360, backwards compat. Don't know if it's available on PS5, but I know Rage 2, that did release originally on PS4 and Xbox One, so you can play those on all modern consoles. Fantastic game. Got all the, like, superpowers, like I mentioned before. Lots of fun. Check out Rage. Next up, another one of my favorite games of all time, Resident Evil 5. It's Resident Evil 5, dog. Taking everything from Resident Evil 4 and just kind of like bumping it up a notch, taking you to Africa with Chris and Sheva, and then, you know, like the final confrontation where you're punching boulders. Legendary, iconic gaming moments right there. Love Resident Evil 5 so much. It was actually one of the first games that I got on PS3 as well. Next up, we got Resistance Fall of Man, an awesome first-person shooter, and another series that Sony really needs to bring back. This is basically like, oh man, how do I even explain this game? So it's like a first-person shooter, kind of apocalypse-y, right? Not like your typical zombie apocalypse, but rather it's like, no, I know exactly how to explain it. It's if PlayStation made a Halo game. That's exactly how you explain it. Yeah, Resistance is if PlayStation made Halo. That's exactly how you explain it right there. Yeah, these games are awesome. Multiple of them ended up releasing. There was like 3 on the PlayStation 3, then there was 1 on the PSP, then you also had 1 on the PS Vita as well. So I'd recommend checking out all these games if you ever get the opportunity. Resistance, Sony, if you're watching this, please, at least one more game, or even like a remake or something. I feel like seeing a remake at least in 2025 on the PS5/PS5 Pro or Fall of Man, that would be gnarly. I'd love to see that. Anyway, finally, we have Starhawk. Just kind of, you know, just kind of like a random one, just got to end on here. Just kind of the last one on my pile here. This is more of like a defense type game, but it is cool because this game actually includes the original PS1 Warhawk game on the disc. So when you put it into your console, it comes up as just, you know, it shows Starhawk, but then it also shows the original Warhawk from PS1. So that's pretty cool. It also gives you like, what, an exclusive PS3 theme and a soundtrack, because I got like the limited edition of the game. So yeah, you know, this game's a lot of fun. It's really cool. I'd recommend looking up some gameplay of it if you've never heard of it before. It's kind of hard to know how to explain the game exactly, but I do recommend picking it up if you ever get the chance, or if you know, see it for cheap or just interested in the game. It's a lot of fun. But anyway, with that, that is uno, dos, tres, stay. I don't have anywhere to put this one, but Quantor, or however you say it. So, yeah, there it is. This is my, my PS3 collection. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, this isn't my entire collection, technically, because I own a number of games and DLC and such digitally. I also lost, or, like I said back in the, sorry, my brain's fried, bro, I've been talking for over an hour. Back in the day, I had a lot of games at my dad's house on PS3, but unfortunately I lost those since me and him stopped talking like 10 years ago, so I have to rebuy all those back. And again, I had a lot of games, so I have a lot of games to rebuy yet. So, yeah, you know, I feel like my collection's still relatively small, all things considered. I know you're probably hearing that, and you're like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? You just talked for over an hour about, like, almost 100 games, not to mention all the other games that I own, and that's not even all of them. Everything on that shelf back there, because all of these games, this is one shelf on that bookshelf. One shelf. And keep in mind, I have an entire dresser right here. There's no clothes in there. It is just video games. So that is why I say, it is hard for me to do an entire collection in one video, but I can do one collection at a time and maybe eventually make a full compilation of everything. But as of now, this is my small and rather humble PS3 collection, but we might do this again in a year or so, and I plan to have this about doubled, if I can help it. Maybe only 1.5 times, you know, maybe, you know, we'll just see what happens, because I'm still collecting for, like, PS5 and such as well, since that's a newer console, but, yeah, we got a ways to go until I'm officially happy with my PS3 collection, but I'm happy with this small and humble beginning. But anyway, as always, massive shout out to all the patrons and channel members singing on the low ball tier, never shout out on the ball tier, my last game, and be down to many of the shout out on D tier, run of on the cheese field. Thank you guys so much, guys, are little legends. I love you. Good on you, Dodoki, arigatou gozaimasu. Have an amazing day, stay beautiful. I love you all. Race.